It's just, we're in a weird pivotal moment where technology and our awareness of corruption is all meeting in this battleground in the middle of the fucking field, like Braveheart, like, rah! That's what's scary. What's scary is these two things are colliding, and I don't know which one's going to win. Because we could turn into a dictatorship. We could turn into something that's closer to a dictatorship and then something that's closer still and continue to go down that line, especially if there's some need to clamp down on society because something happened, whether it's a solar flare or whether it's a terrorist attack or whether it's just flat out war. That's all that we need. All they would need is some reason why they need to completely clamp down on your ability to express yourself, platform's ability to distribute information that's contrary to what they're saying, any of those things, anything that they can do to stop that, to put a clamp down on people, like disrupting the narrative that they're trying to distribute.
It's wild that COVID was essentially one of the catalysts that got me to leave the city. And, it started with the van. I got the van, and I'm out in the remote desert, and I'm loving it out there. And I was my bug out van. I mean, I had probably could have survived in that van with a solar power battery system and my food. I'd freeze dried, meals ready to eat, camping food, boil water and pour it in the bag. And it's lasagna. This is amazing. I could have probably spent, months out there without even having to go anywhere, And you start to go, hey, this is kind of cool, like I'm self-sufficient out here. I'm not, I've got 26 gallon
water. You didn't
water.
Get lonely?
Well, I would drive out to a cool place for 3 or 4 days, and then I'd go to another location, and then.
So you'd go and hang with people?
No, I wasn't. I was just doing this sort of
isolation.
I was doing this. I was really actually kind of getting into videography again. I shot this video on Sony A7S III, but I've started getting back into cameras.
Right, but you weren't around any people?
Well, I was.
When you went to cool places, did you go hang around people?
No, I was just alone. Yeah, and I was making these. It was just Charlie and I. We made this sort of film.
How long did you go without being around any people?
Well, because then I would go.
Because when you came here, the last time you did the podcast, I had the distinct impression of a man who just got rescued from an island.
Yeah.
It was Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
You had the fucking volleyball.
Yeah. It was like that, yeah.
You seem a little manic.
It was somewhat of a creative experiment as mixed with real paranoia as well. Because I do sort of, I think sometimes like I said, I got testicular cancer. How the fuck did that happen to me? So I'm just like, okay, This is everything bad. If this is happening, it's going to be bad. So it's going to be bad to me. So I'm just going to. And then.
So how long did you go without being in contact with any other people?
Well, so I still had my house in L.A., so I hadn't sold my house yet. So I had this van. So I would drive out into the desert for a couple of weeks and basically go on a camping trip, and then I'd go back home, and then.
Were you around people when you were back home?
So it was still that. People would come over, we'd hang out outside. It was that kind of whole thing for the first few weeks or whatever, months, however many. Remember, it was a couple of months.
Would you cover your mouth and then you'd all run outside, hold your breath?
Yeah, kind of. We would just hang outside for a couple of months, go to the dog park and see people there and stuff like that. It was that that initial stage where, because you weren't in LA then, no. So it was wild.
I was in LA.
Were you in LA at the beginning of COVID?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I moved during
that's
COVID.
Right. Because I came on your show in L.A. when it was at the beginning of COVID. Yeah, that's right. And the second time I came on your show was here. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
That was
because remember how they were like
you're avoiding the question.
Remember how there were military helicopters going over?
You're avoiding my question. How long did you go without being around people?
Maybe a couple of months or something like that.
How many months?
Couples 2, a few is 3 or more. Maybe it was 3. Yeah.
You sure it wasn't more?
Well, then I started doing the van thing, so there was nobody where I was going anyway, so I had an excuse,
Right.
I was on a camping
But it's still being with no people. How long were you with no people then?
Yeah, I mean, it was a few months for sure. It
But
wasn't.
All told, how many months do you think you spent of that year without being around people?
Well, first of all, one thing that's interesting about it is I happened to be single at the time.
Are you a lawyer? The way you're answering these questions are like a goddamn lawyer.
Well, it's it is a bit embarrassing, I guess, to think that I was isolated. But I also found it kind of fun.
Right, but how long?
Like it was about 3 or 4 months or something like that.
But then the van.
The
you
van
weren't around people then too.
No, but that
That's
was
isolation too.
Yeah, but that was more like I was enjoying going out into nature by myself and.
But you were
videos.
still by yourself with no people for how
but
long?
I'd go for a couple of weeks and I'd go back to L.A. and I'd be in L.A. and
you would be around people.
I'd recharge a bit. I'd be around people a little bit, and then I'd go back out again, and then as things died down, as they did, I started being around people like everybody else.
I couldn't imagine going months without being around people.
Well, the thing that was weird about it was I'm not married. I was single. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. So like I actually
no responsibility, true freedom.
That's what made it weird was I could imagine if I had a girlfriend at the time, we just say, okay, we're going to isolate together. And now you're just with your significant other. Here I was, okay, I'm going to isolate and I don't have a significant other at the time. So it was like actually the first time where I've ever had this sort of self-imposed or whatever, maybe it was imposed on us, or I took it as an opportunity to be by myself and go out and make videos in the desert and go to these really crazy remote places. And I would seek out places where there wasn't going to be other vans and other people. But when you were out in the desert, a lot of times you'd go to somewhere and there'd be other people out in their vans and you'd hang out and have beers with people out in the desert and hang out, and then you'd go